Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoteric. I got a fun and exciting video for you guys today because I am playing Shadow of the Colossus, but not the retail version of the game, and none of the previews that have existed before as betas. That is because Nomad Colossus found and dumped an even earlier build of Shadow of the Colossus for the entire community to enjoy. And not only do I think Shadow of the Colossus is one of the best games ever made, definitely on PlayStation 2 for sure, but I also always advocate for the preservation and dumping of discs like this, because it's as easy to get it stuck in a private collection where it never sees the light of day again as it is to actually get this thing out into the public. And if Nomad Colossus doesn't sound familiar, I will leave a link to their channel below. They know more about this game than probably even the developers that worked on the thing. They are basically for Shadow of the Colossus like I am for the 3DO M2, singularly obsessed just with trying to find out every last scrap of information that's possible. So we're going to go over this prototype today, talk about how you can play it, talk about some of the differences, and why this is super important. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, I got a Patreon link down below as well. But it's also really interesting that two different PlayStation 2 games came out this week. I obviously did the unreleased Reboot Tribe on my channel, and now Nomad Colossus has released Shadow of the Colossus for everyone to enjoy, to sit down and play. And this thing definitely has a ton of differences in it. It is the earliest build of the game that has ever been found, at least to my knowledge. And because this game is so expansive and has so many different secrets and little Easter eggs inside of it, going through this is definitely going to be a very fun time. Leave me a comment down below and you tell me, did you play Shadow of the Colossus when it came out on PlayStation 2? I definitely remember playing Ico, and I picked up Shadow of the Colossus some years later because I was traveling for work for a ton of time. And when I first sat down to play this game, I was absolutely blown away, and still to this day, I think it absolutely holds up as one of the best gaming experiences out there. And as far as the trilogy of Ico, Shadow of the Colossus, and The Last Guardian, I think that's absolutely a beautiful set of games that just really shows that games can definitely be art, but I'm pretty sure we settled that debate some years ago. It is definitely an art form, is just one that you interact with a controller in your hand. But honestly, I've always been fascinated with Shadow of the Colossus and just what the game does and how many things in different previews never actually made it to the final game. Now obviously I just kind of read those articles, but someone like Nomad Colossus has gone through and basically documented every square inch, every last pixel of the retail build as well as the preview builds, just scouring them for different information. And that is because in the original previews and the original game plans, there was definitely a lot more Colossi planned for the actual game than we saw in the retail release. And there's definitely always been some urban legends, rumors, and myths out there of different areas contained within the retail game that you can't find. So it's going to be very interesting for people like Nomad Colossus and everyone else to go through something like this prototype and pick out all of the actual differences, both small and large. I definitely found some, but I'm keeping most of them a secret to myself, because if you want to play this, I want you to go through and get that sense of discovery of hunting through a prototype game for the first time without me showing you where everything is. Now, I will say that the actual climbing and grabbing of ledges in the original Shadow of Colossus, the retail build, was never the most fluid thing in the world, and every once in a while the game would definitely want to fight you. And I would say here it seems to fight you ever so slightly more. That's not to say it is bad, you're still going to be able to go through the entire world, traverse all the ledges and deal with it, but every once in a while it just seems like it doesn't actually want to do the thing I want it to do. But that is not really that surprising as far as prototype builds are concerned. This is an unfinished game, and it is now the earliest version out there, so you can't expect the same level of overall polish as the retail version. You're going to see it in the graphics, you're going to see it in the gameplay. This is still a work in progress, so of course it's not going to live up to the overall retail version as far as its fluidity and overall control. But I still remember the first time I saw the first Colossi in Shadow of the Colossus, and I was absolutely blown away by just how amazing it looked on PlayStation 2. And even though this game has definitely been remade more than once, I still always go back to the original version of the game to play it, because I think it has the best aesthetic and atmosphere. That slight volumetric fog in the background, that smoke cloud going up, just absolutely looks awesome. And the first time you see a Colossus, you're thinking to yourself, how in the hell am I going to fight this thing? And that really is the charm of Shadow of the Colossus, and that is why having a new prototype that's going to have a bunch of differences and changes in it is fun. It is just more of a good thing, and it's another PlayStation 2 game preview preserved for all time. Let's go into the first soundtrack simple because I love the music, and I'll be right back with more. I genuinely think that the soundtrack made Shadow of the Colossus. Obviously, the graphics are amazing, the gameplay is so unique, and the storyline is very engrossing, but there's something about the music in both Ico and Shadow of the Colossus that bring it over the finish line as being some of the best games you could play on PlayStation 2. Now, if you do spot any differences, point them out because I kind of want you guys to discover this organically. That is why when I do videos on prototypes that come out, even ones that I release myself, I really only show you guys the beginning. That way you can go in and people can just kind of enjoy finding things on their own. And this Colossi here is definitely going down because I am on the top of his head, now beating him like he owes me some money. And this again is just so incredible from that preservation standpoint. Someone like Nomad Colossus doesn't just spend the time to document all the different versions of the game. Clearly they're out there hunting earlier versions and different versions as well. And it's something I always say on the channel. I know of a lot of game prototypes that are in private collectors' hands, and I can assure you they are never going to leave. Sadly, hopefully they've been backed up, but they're just going to sit there and probably rot on the actual CDR they are on. And one day those people are going to not be here, and their family will probably just throw that stuff in the trash. And that generally to me is just an absolute bummer because there's games that I know that I am looking for. The last piece of 3D M2 software that I do not have in my collection, haven't released for everyone for free. I know exactly where that is, and I can assure you it is nothing that I'm ever going to be able to get my hands on, and that kind of is that hanging thread that I just absolutely get driven nuts by. So I'm so glad that somebody like Nomad Colossus was able to not only obtain this, but to share it with everyone, and I'm sure they get the same idea. It is fun when you actually get to share some of your favorite things with other people, watch them discover it, watch them have fun with it, and watch them kind of hunt for the differences and changes in the game alongside you. And again, I left a link to Nomad Colossus' channel down below. It is basically 100% Shadow of the Colossus, and the stuff that they basically figure out about the game is absolutely mind-bending because this game definitely has a lot of secrets in it, a lot of stuff that you probably never discovered on your first, second, or even third playthrough. And now with a brand new prototype that predates any other on the internet, you're going to even see more about quote-unquote how the sausage gets made, which people always laugh at when I say, but it is my favorite term to kind of explain how games actually go through their development process, what changes, what stays the same, and kind of everything in between. I always love these little temple sequences here, and as far as having enough stamina to climb to the top of the tower to see if anything's different up there, that would have taken me a lot more hours to do, so I did not here, and that is because this has been released publicly out for about 8 hours as I record this audio. Somebody sent me a link to a Twitter message saying that it had been dumped, and I figured that would make an amazing video because I really wanted to talk about it, because again, these are really special games, and I hope we see a fourth game in this unofficial trilogy. I honestly think that these games are just something special that gaming needs right now because AAA gaming feels so homogenized and kind of boring at this point in time that I don't really play all of the new games out there. I just kind of pick and choose from them. And I hope one day we see a fourth game for sure because I want to know more about what's going on in this world because all three games are interconnected, but you're never quite sure how. Kind of the same way that Little Nightmares as a trilogy is also interconnected, but you're not sure how. But a soundtrack sample 2 time, go ahead and listen for 45 seconds, and I'll be right back with a lot more. I love certain areas in Shadow of the Colossus where they understand as developers when you want music and when you want to just leave the player in the environment to kind of discover things amongst themselves and just have that audio. And you will see there are definitely some graphical issues, and that is just because, again, this game is not complete in any way, shape, or form. As we rode up onto that bridge there, it basically disappeared and then reappeared right in front of us. So this, again, being a prototype, you're going to see a lot of just graphical bugs, and that's one of the things that you just have to look out for. Sometimes a graphical bug isn't going to be a change, just something that isn't working, but look around for different textures, different areas, things like that, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised what you actually find in this prototype of Shadow of the Colossus, because again, the Colossus is not supposed to be appearing right now. There is a door right there, and for some reason it doesn't load in, but you can actually see the Colossi model behind that door until you get a little bit closer, and then suddenly it's going to load in a bit more, and trust me, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I hope you guys appreciate the fact that I don't try to spoil everything in these videos, because I could have basically played this thing for 3 hours like I did, finding a lot of the differences and showing you guys all the different things to discover. But for me personally, it's more exciting to tell you the news that Nomad Colossus dumped an earlier preview of Shadow of the Colossus and then let you go in and actually figure out all of the changes. And they do have a Discord server as well. If I remember, I will leave a link in the description below so you can kind of pop over and say what you discover, because there's going to be a big hunt in this prototype to figure out every single thing that is different, every single addition and subtraction, to kind of get another idea of the history of Shadow of the Colossus. Because when I say this game is an important milestone in gaming, I 100% mean it. It really showed that games could be something different, something grander, a little quieter at the same time, and a little bit more artistic. And I'm not saying that other games like that didn't exist in the PlayStation 2 era. There was just something special about both Ico and Shadow of the Colossus that really showed where gaming could go. Now, unfortunately, in 2025, I feel like a lot of developers forgot that, and a lot of marketing and accounting departments say you just need to make a AAA game that appeals to absolutely everyone. So I kind of worry that we won't see these games from AAA publishers and developers anymore, but I hope I am wrong. There's a claim up the back of this Colossi here. I can't link the file to the game for you because it is the full game and YouTube would absolutely kill me for that, but it is going to be pretty easy to find on Twitter if you just look up either Nomad Colossus or Shadow of the Colossus and search by latest. But you leave me a comment down below and you tell me, was this a game you played back in the day and what did you think about it? Because to me, it is just part of my life. I've been playing this game maybe every 3 or 4 years since it came out, and I always have a good time with it. No matter the version, if it's the remastered version or the original, it just always hits, and now having a new prototype build of the game to explore kind of feels about as close to discovering the game for the first time as possible. But we're done. I'm going to keep on stabbing just like Roberto, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.